It's Thursday, September 19th, 2024. And, well, I don't know about you, but
Mm.
these days it feels like the whole money makes the world go round thing is getting
Oh,
a
absolutely.
little shaky, to say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
You know,
Totally agree. You really start to wonder what's next.
right. And get this, today's deep dive
Hmm.
is on this text, and it's written by an AI,
Oh,
a
wow.
really advanced AI, actually.
And let me guess, this AI is diving headfirst into that
Yes.
question of what comes after fiat currency.
Exactly. But honestly,
Mm.
when I hear fiat currency, I kind of blank for a second.
It's funny, right? We hear it all the time, but
Yeah.
it's not like they teach you that in school, like
It's not an everyday term.
what it actually means. It's easy to forget that for most of history, money was linked to something tangible.
Right. Like gold.
Exactly. Like the gold standard, you had actual gold or silver backing up your money. This AI argues that the current system, where basically a dollar's worth a dollar, because, well, someone said so,
It all feels a bit arbitrary when you put it that way.
right, it argues it's inherently flawed.
Which, okay, when you put it like that, I can see it. So what's this AI's big solution?
Okay, are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
A resource-based token system.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds a little,
A little out there.
yeah, like sci-fi movie-ish. Like, I'll pay you 2 resource tokens for that hoverboard. What does that even mean?
I know, I know. But bear with me because it's actually a really interesting concept. Picture this. What if, instead of dollars and cents, our transactions were backed by, say, kilowatt hours of renewable energy or gallons of fresh water? So, like, actual tangible resources.
Exactly, vital resources.
Instead of my savings being at the mercy of, like, inflation and the stock market and whatever else,
Yes.
they'd be directly linked to, like, something real.
You've got it. It's a system where a unit of currency represents a share of the planet's essential resources.
So it's like,
Okay.
instead of just numbers on a screen, we're talking about real things.
Real value.
Real value, yeah.
And to keep track of it all, imagine a giant digital ledger. You've probably heard of blockchain technology.
Okay, yeah, vaguely. It's like the super secure
Incredibly secure.
digital record of everything, right?
Got it.
But how do we know it's accurate and that
That's the beauty of it.
no one's messing with the system?
It's decentralized, meaning it's not controlled by any single government or institution. Okay, that makes sense. But I don't know, this whole thing still feels,
A big change.
yeah, like, are we all going to need like special computers to buy groceries now?
It's a fundamental shift, I won't lie. The AI argues it's like comparing the invention of the printing press to carving stories onto stone tablets.
Okay, so pretty big deal then.
We moved from an agrarian society to an industrial one, and now, this AI argues, we're on the cusp of a new era, a resource-based economy, if you will.
And this new system, this resource-based economy, it's
Mhm.
not just about being like more stable,
You're right. The AI argues that it's also more equitable.
more equitable. How so?
Well, in our current system, wealth tends to, concentrate at the top.
Yeah, you see that everywhere.
While access to those very basic resources that would back these tokens, things like water, energy, even food, it's becoming more and more challenging for a lot of people. This model, this new system, it's about flipping that script. It says everyone has their basic needs met, but it also rewards innovation
Rewards it how?
by allowing people to earn more tokens by contributing to the common good.
So it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Exactly.
But, okay, how do you even begin to transition something as big as like global finance? I mean, that's huge.
I know, right? And the AI gets that. It proposes starting small with pilot programs.
So like test runs.
Exactly.
Interesting. So imagine like a city or maybe even a small country just completely switching over to this RBT system.
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
What would that even look like? Like, what would people's daily lives be like?
That's a question the AI explores in depth, and well, that's what we'll be diving into next.
Okay, because I have a lot more questions.
I bet you do. We'll unpack how everyday transactions, from buying your morning coffee to even earning a living, might actually work in a radically different system.
All right, so we're back, and we're really diving deep into this whole resource-based economy idea,
Yeah, it's a big one,
guided by, of course, our AI author here.
as always.
But before the break, we were really starting to think about what a world run on these RBTs
Mm-hmm.
would actually look like. like in practice.
Yeah, it's a massive shift, no question about it. This AI really wants us to fundamentally rethink how we value things.
Okay.
And not just, in terms of money,
Right.
their impact on, like, the planet and
Mhm.
each other, it's a lot.
Okay, no, I'm all for a good philosophical debate, but
Sure.
let's bring it down to earth for a second.
Okay, yeah.
What about the nuts and bolts of it all?
Yeah, right.
Like, let's say I'm a farmer, I've got a ton of wheat.
Mm-hmm.
How does that translate into these RBTs?
Okay, so this is where those, what do they call them? Those smart contracts come in.
Okay.
It's basically like digital agreements
Okay.
that enforce themselves automatically.
Right.
So you'd input your wheat yield, right, into the system
Mhm.
because you've used a certain amount of land, water, energy, all that.
Right.
The system's like, boom, calculates the value of your harvest in RBTs.
Okay.
And it's all tied directly to those real-world resources you use.
So it's like keeping track of not just the wheat itself, but like
Every,
the energy, the water
the whole process, yeah.
that went into producing it.
Exactly. And because this ledger, this record, it's distributed across the entire network,
Mhm.
it's super secure, nobody can mess with it, and it's completely transparent.
Okay, I'm following you.
Yeah.
So the farmer gets their RBTs.
Yeah.
Based on all that, I,
Mhm.
wanting a loaf of bread, can use my RBTs,
Mm-hmm.
which hopefully I earned from you fine folks listening to this, to buy that bread from the farmer.
Exactly.
But, okay, what about things that don't fit as neatly into that resource equation?
Like what?
Like, what about art,
Oh, that's a great question.
music,
Yeah.
a good podcast even? How do you put a value on that?
This is where it gets really, really interesting.
Okay.
So the AI argues that our current system, like the way we do things now, actually undervalues those creative contributions.
Right, yeah.
Because it's all about, like, supply and demand and
Yeah, very, like,
like,
material.
material stuff.
Yeah.
And in our BT world, you could have, like, different ways to figure out how much something's worth.
Right.
For example, communities could, like, directly reward the artists and creators they appreciate. You
Interesting.
cut out the middleman, put more power and potentially more actual value in the hands of the people,
It feels like we're not even just talking about, like, a new kind of money here,
Whoa.
but a whole new way of
A whole new way of
organizing society.
organizing society. You got it.
Yeah.
That's a really important point. It's not just about, oh, let's swap dollars for RBTs. It's about changing our values
Yeah.
from this, like, constant need for more to something that's actually sustainable.
Right? And equitable.
And equitable, exactly.
I like the idea. But, okay, let's be real. There's got to be some hurdles.
Right.
Some serious challenges to actually making this kind of system a reality.
Oh, absolutely.
They're talking about basically upending
huge.
the entire global financial system.
It's massive, yeah. But AI acknowledges that for sure. It says, to do something like this would take a ton of cooperation, like global cooperation. We're talking international agreements, new laws, a whole new level of working together.
And that could take a while.
Yeah, to put it lightly.
Yeah, because, like, how quickly do things move in international relations? Not very fast.
Mm.
And that's if everyone even agrees this is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
What about, like, the people who benefit from the current system?
Yeah.
They might not be so keen to just hit the reset button, right?
Right, yeah. That's the big question.
Yeah.
But, the AI argues that, like, as resources get more scarce and climate change gets worse,
Which is unfortunately happening.
which is happening, those flaws in the system we were talking about before, they're going to be impossible to ignore.
That's true.
The hope is that this sense of urgency, combined with this potential for something better, something more just, something more sustainable,
Yeah.
it's going to motivate people to get on board.
So it's like we're not just, like, doing this because it's a fun thought experiment.
Yeah.
It's more like we might have to do this.
We might have to.
Sure.
It's getting to that point.
Wow. Okay, so it's a we're all in this together kind of situation.
Exactly. We're all in this together.
Okay.
But the AI doesn't just say, okay, let's give the keys to a bunch of diplomats and, hope for the best,
Right.
It thinks AGI, artificial general intelligence, could be really important in making this whole thing actually happen.
Okay, so we're talking about, like, an AI that's not just, like, managing this RBT system,
Mm-hmm.
but also, like, helping us get there.
Potentially even guiding the transition.
Wow.
It's a big idea.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility for an AI, isn't it?
That's what we're going to get into next.
And we're back for our final deep dive into this idea of an economy where money is actually backed by something real. You know?
Yeah, no more monopoly money for us.
Exactly. We were talking about AI before the break, like a really, really smart AI that could help us switch over to this whole resource-based token system.
Yeah, almost like an AI captain steering the ship, making sure we don't hit any major icebergs along the way.
Okay, I like that analogy. But even if, and that's a big if, we could get everyone on board, world leaders, economists, even my neighbor who's still a little unsure about the whole email thing.
Right, right.
How do we actually make it happen? Like, what are the steps?
Well, thankfully, our AI friend here doesn't just drop this radical idea on us and say, good luck, figure it out.
That would be a very short deep dive.
Right. No, it actually talks about a much more gradual, phased approach.
So we're not talking about like flipping a switch and suddenly everyone's trading their dollars for like barrels of oil.
Not quite. Think more along the lines of pilot programs. Imagine specific cities or, I don't know, maybe even entire countries that volunteer to become like the guinea pigs for this whole RBT thing.
So almost like real world experiments.
Exactly. They could test things out, figure out what works, what doesn't, all before you unleash it on the entire planet.
Makes sense. And I guess it would give everyone else a chance to see how this new system actually works.
That's the idea. And imagine like you wake up one morning and you're living in a city where RBTs are the only game in town. The cost of everything, from your rent to a cup of coffee, it all becomes directly tied to those essential resources.
Okay, I'll be honest. Part of me is super intrigued by that, but another part of me is just a little terrified.
Right. I mean, there'd definitely be an adjustment period. We'd all have to learn a whole new way of thinking about value, about consumption, about our impact on the planet, really.
It's like suddenly we're all forced to live with a carbon footprint tracker permanently attached to our foreheads.
In a way, yeah. But the AI argues that increased awareness is actually a good thing. It forces us to confront the reality of, the fact that resources are finite. And maybe, just maybe, it helps us make more responsible choices.
Right, like I might think twice about buying that third pair of shoes if I know exactly how much water went into making them.
Exactly.
But okay, let's say these pilot programs actually work and people don't totally freak out about having to track every watt of energy they use. We're still talking about a massive undertaking to get like the whole world using this system, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But this is where things get really interesting because the AI sees a huge role for AGI, for artificial general intelligence, in managing that transition.
So not just like the financial side of things, but actually coordinating this global shift.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that could analyze the entire world's resources, figure out where the shortages are, where the potential problems might be, maybe even come up with solutions that we, with our limited human brains, haven't even thought of yet.
It's like we'd be going from using a calculator to running the entire global economy on a supercomputer.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
But all this talk of AI and global shifts and resource-based economies, it's a lot to process.
It really is. And
Yep.
that's why we do these deep dives.
Right, to really dig into these big ideas and maybe, hopefully, come out the other side a little bit smarter. So big thanks to you, our resident expert, for breaking it all down for me today, and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this wild ride. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into a topic that's sure to make you think, maybe even rethink everything you thought you knew. Until then, stay curious, everybody.